What happens if a tsundere likes another tsundere? This question has boggled the minds of scientists for centuries. For those of you who don't know what Kaguya-sama is about, it's basically a rom-com where a main pair are locked in an intense battle of 5D confession chess. They're trying to get one to confess to the other, and both of them are Joseph Joestar. We follow Miyuki Shirogane, an incredibly hard-working student council president, and student council vice president Kaguya Shinomiya, a reserved girl coming from a very rich family. We're talking Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk combined type rich. As the saying goes, love is war. Love is war, love is war. To confess is to show weakness and accept, well, I'm not exactly too sure what the consequences would be since they both want this relationship, but I'm sure it's worse than what they have right now, right? They do this because both are convinced that the other is in love with them and are hold up, let me pull out my microscope, this close to making a move on them.
That's kind of small. Yikes.
There are times when they start to have doubts, mostly because of all the mind games, but these guys have the mental fortitude of a flat earther and will not budge on their belief that they cannot confess first. It's not clear what either person loses if they confess, but mama ain't raised no loser, bitch. These mind games do get pretty wild, and each one has a unique approach for these games. Gotcha, bitch! Yuki's good at thinking on his feet and making different strategies on the fly, while Kaguya is a meticulous schemer who uses her family's influence and likes to throw her wallet at the problem. The cast mainly revolves around the members of the student council, and the people closest to them. Starting off with the earlier mentioned Miyuki Shirogane, he's an outlier to the entire school. Everyone else around him comes from distinguished families, so in order to prove that he deserves a spot among them, he has to work his dick and balls off balancing schoolwork, student council work, and work at his part-time job. Miyuki does all this because in the past, his mother had him apply to prestigious kindergartens and elementary schools, which he all failed. He couldn't reach the bar his gifted sister Kei set and the expectations his mother had, so his mother left their family, taking only Kei with her. And that's Miyuki's superhero origin story. Kaguya Shinomiya, on the other hand, is the exact opposite of who young Miyuki was. She comes from a powerful, distinguished family that drilled the rules and expectations of the family into her from a young age. Kaguya was the stereotypical ice queen that distrusted any and everyone she met, keeping them at arm's length and trying to figure out their ulterior motives. Because of this, Kaguya develops a form of multiple personality disorder, which occasionally gets visualized in the form of a court case. Here you can see 3 different pseudo-personalities, each representing the ego, superego, and id. For most of her life, she donned the ice queen persona. That is, until she met Miyuki, the first person she met and felt was genuinely kind. Slowly, she changes into the Kaguya we know today. Okay, I know their background stories are pretty depressing, but I swear to God, this is supposed to be a comedy. Then there's Chika Fujiwara, the student council secretary, famously known for the Chica dance. No, the real Chica dance. Perfect. Chica is a person that just wants to have fun, and is the one that usually comes up with the games they play in the series. Now, if I had to describe Chica in one word, it would be that she's chaotic. She either has a hard time reading the room, or she straight up doesn't care. I don't know which one's worse, you tell me. Chica is often the unpredictable element whose presence makes planning and scheming pretty much pointless. Though, being as unhelpful as she is sometimes, she still genuinely cares for her friends. You see her trials and tribulations as she continuously teaches and helps Miyuki out. Even if he's unbelievably bad at something, she will, against her better judgment, help him out till the end. Next is Yuishigami, the student council treasurer. He's your run-of-the-mill isekai protagonist. He's sarcastic, loves otaku culture, and even has a flashback as to why he became a shut-in. This guy has what it takes to make it big as the greatest isekai protagonist to ever live. Though, unfortunately for him, the show isn't called Ishigami, Life is War. Despite this and his cynical outlook on life, deep down, he's still a kind person that's willing to help others even at the cost of his pride. 10 out of 10 best boy. Moving on to Miko Ino, the student council auditor. Her father's a judge on the Supreme Court and her mother works in a humanitarian support group. And with both having such time-demanding jobs, Miko had a very lonely childhood. The combination of which leads Miko to believe that her parents are absent in her life because there are too many bad people in the world. This causes her to develop a strong sense of justice and to adhere strictly to moral correctness. Ironically, while Miko is wildly against anything perverted, her mind has a tendency to misinterpret normal situations into being sexual. Though, to her credit, she does get unlucky and walks in at some very inopportune moments. And as an honorable mention, I want to talk about Papa Shirogane, as he might just be my favorite character in the series. Thanks to the performance of his voice actor, Takehito Koyasu, Papa Shirogane exudes charisma, confidence, and intensity. I just love the way he announces his own arrival so calmly yet menacingly as he just slides into the room saying the lines in overbearing mother might. He has a tendency to tease people while keeping a straight face, despite his stern look and demeanor. Papa Shirogane is a person that really cares for the well-being of his kids. Even if he can't offer much as a father, he can still teach them good values that they later completely ignore. Well, that doesn't really matter, because in the end, he's still their sugar daddy. Though the real MVP is the narrator. The over-the-top delivery from the narrator helps frame the situation as the Armageddon-level disaster that Kaguya and Miyuki feel it is. The narration we get helps put us in the same headspace as our main duo. This sets the stage in a way that helps the situation and comedy flow naturally for the viewer. Whereas when reading the manga, the flow and tone of the explaining text can be more up for interpretation. Speaking of which, the manga is actually such a good read, and we recommend it to everyone, even if you're not a big fan of rom-coms, cause you'll be one after you read it. I say that like the manga is over already, but actually, it's still in its final arc, and things have gotten way more intense than I think anybody could have ever fathomed. Hats off to the author and genius behind the story, Akasaka Aka. I bet he never showed his whole face and only wears a mask like this because he doesn't want to breathe the same air as us lower life forms do. Which is understandable, seeing how large his brain is from writing Kaguya-sama. If you want to read the manga from where season 2 left off, we recommend starting off at chapter 92. Although, we highly recommend reading it from chapter 1 because every chapter is pretty good. And also, there were some chapters that the anime skipped over, which is natural given the nature of anime and the pacing of the main story.
One of the things that many fans are excited for, and arguably one of the most important aspects for an anime to have, is a banger of an opening. And both seasons 1 and 2 have successfully done just that. When the first 2 openings are just that good, it makes us worry that the third season won't be as good because it seems almost like an impossible task for the composers to create something even better. But if it's this man, there's no telling what he's capable of. Without a doubt in our hearts, if there's one person that can do better than his previous self, it's his present self. So we'll just have to wait until April to see if he can do it again. The openings are so good that it's inspired people like Jeff from Mother's Basement to make a 25-minute video analyzing the opening sequences of both seasons and its hidden meanings, which is pretty freaking impressive. You watch Kaguya for the story, but we watch Kaguya for the openings. We are not the same. What we can expect from the anime is big brain outplays, reverse Uno cards, and a confession arc. But from who? Well, you'll just have to wait for it to be animated, or you can read it yourself. The anime will most likely adapt about 50-ish chapters, since season 1 adapted 46-ish chapters and season 2 adapted 53-ish chapters. We can also expect perfectly executed voice lines from the wonderful voice actors and actresses.
Hey, hey!
Great artwork and animation, and like we previously mentioned, a banger opening.
This might be a different opinion, and not everybody will agree, but the anime and manga are two different experiences. Let me explain that a little further. They're different because the voices portraying the characters really allow the emotions to be felt the way they were meant to be, and the tempo of the story is controlled by a guy whose job it is to do just that. And there's no doubt in my mind that he has at least 50 years of experience, even if this guy's only 48 years old. An example of voices portraying characters' emotions correctly is taking this scene for example. You read this scene in the manga, and I guarantee you, nobody even batted an eye to this. As mentioned earlier, the narrator is also a great example of this.
He does an especially good job making these remarks and adding a little bit of spice that perfectly sums up the event that just occurred. As for the tempo aspect, some of the jokes hit way harder when they're allowed to marinate, and the pacing is controlled by the anime and not by how many words you can read in a page. With all that being said, what we really mean to say is that the voice actor and actresses do an amazing job, and the anime would not be where it is today if they weren't a part of this amazing work. We're definitely looking forward to season 3 in April, but not so much to the ending of the Kaguya-sama manga. But alas, all good things must come to an end. So until next time, peace.